So did you ever, you tell me, when you're a wide receiver, did you like the snow because you knew where you were going and corners don't? Did you feel it was a little bit, you can put the brakes on? Did you feel like snow was an advantage for you as an offensive player?
It's an advantage, but no, I didn't like it. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I wanted it to be clear on the ground, so I had my footing, and I wanted to be able to run the routes at the speed and at the pace and the tempo that I wanted to. And snow prohibits you from doing that. You have to be under control at all times. And I'm not saying that it wasn't an advantage, because it was, but it's not as great an advantage as one would think, especially with good corners that understand how to play concepts and can play with vision. So, I mean, it's an advantage, but it's not an extreme advantage for anyone out there.
Now, I think Tom Brady, Greg, is about the best cold weather thrower I've seen. Part of that is Tom's torque at the hip. His ball is like a slider. I always thought one of the best games Tom ever played was in Chicago years ago in a lousy weather game. And I remember remarking on the air, I'm like, I've never seen a guy throw a tighter spiral in bad weather. You tell me, Aaron's a California guy. Did he grumble about bad weather? Did he throw the same ball in bad weather? What did it affect Aaron's performance?
Never. I never saw it affect Aaron's performance. I never saw him or heard him mentally even give into it. Later on in Brett's career, you started hearing him kind of complain about the cold, and you've even heard Tom Brady allude to never living in the Northeast any longer and in the cold climates. But when you talk to Tom Brady, he has such a supreme elite mental capacity and mental perspective to where he knows it's 3 hours. All I got is 3 hours. And so he finds a way to get it done out of most quarterbacks, where I think the cold weather impacts the quarterback the most. But then your quarterback is Tom Brady. And it probably, if it were to not impact any quarterback, it would be Tom Brady. But Aaron Rodgers has always been great in cold weather. He throws a tight spiral. He has huge hands. I think his hands go underrated. And you don't see him with any gloves. You see him very comfortable out there with the ball, holding it the same way he would as even if it were warmer climates. That's something he's really taken pride in, practicing outside, throwing in those conditions, understanding how to throw the ball, what the ball is going to do. He's definitely got the art down.
I was saying this, getting to Super Bowls is so much about your path. And this is not a shot at Tom, but it did help. He never faced Pro Bowl quarterbacks in his division. So he got a bye. He had to win one home game off a bye, and then he was in the conference championship. And it matters. Whereas Mahomes is going to have to face Justin Herbert and Derek Carr for the next several years. Those are good players. And, I said this morning with Aaron Rodgers, whereas Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and all the Justin Herbert, it's all AFC. If you go look at Aaron Rodgers for the next 6 years, Breeze is retired, will be, and Brady probably does in a year or two. He's only got one peer in the NFC, Russell Wilson, who's got a enigmatic relationship with his head coach. I honestly think the next 6 years for Aaron, Greg, I think his path, look at his own division. Those teams don't want those quarterbacks won't be there. I think Aaron's last 6 years are going to be his best six. I really strongly believe that. Do you share that sentiment?
I wouldn't say his path is so easy. And when we look at Tom Brady, obviously, I've told this to Tom, even this year, he has the LeBron James effect. So wherever he goes, it's going to be, the expectation is going to be win or bust. And so, yes, it was just like LeBron in the East. The path was so easy. Oh, my gosh, he's in the East. He goes to the West, and now he's the champion in the West. And now it's like everybody's flooding back to the East. This is kind of the Tom Brady effect, honestly. The same thing that LeBron has done. But Aaron Rodgers, to me, his path is always a challenge because the coaching and the defenses on that side, in that conference, in my opinion, tend to be more stout. When you look at the Vikings, you never quite know. When you look at the Bears, they just miss that quarterback piece. And if they can get those pieces, defensively, they can cause problems. The Panthers, the Buccaneers, the New Orleans Saints, like these are really good defensive teams. The Washington Redskins, the Giants. And so it's just that piece at the helm under center that changes the game. And that's why Aaron Rodgers' path to you probably is a lot smoother. But to him, I guarantee you, he sees those defenses and are like, geez.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to throw this at you. We've been arguing about this all day. And Joy is going to join me now. So Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Hall of Fame talk, right? I'm listening to it all day on the radio yesterday, doing errands and stuff. And I said, I can say a guy should be in or not on the radio show. And this is just talking. But if I was a voter, I am now voting on a man's legacy. He is a husband. He's a father. It's his business. It's his career. My standard is going to be very serious. I'm going to spend hours thinking, is Greg Jennings a Hall of Famer? Is so-and-so? So my standard for this show is talk about it, have an opinion, be entertaining. But if I was a voter, I would have to create a standard. So if a player like you came to me and said, well, it affected my life, why didn't you let me in? I could say, well, Greg, here is my standard. So I'm going to throw this at you. Here's my standard in the NFL for a Hall of Fame. Top 5 at your position for 2 contracts, 8 years. Is that too? Okay, now, Terrell Davis doesn't get in. Kurt Warner doesn't get in.
Correct.
Right.
There's a lot of guys that are off of that list that remove that jacket off their back.
Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, don't get in. So you tell me.
Correct.
Now, Joy's argument is interesting. Joy has a theory on, give me your little theory on this.
My little theory is that while I see your points, can you tell the history of the NFL's greatest moments in time without their careers?
And Eli Manning is her example.
You cannot tell Tom Brady's story without him losing to Eli Manning twice in the Super Bowl.
So whose standard do you like better?
To be honest, Joy, that is impressive. I really like the thought. The only problem that I have with yours, Joy, is there are some players that you can kind of tell the history because they've had those moments. Yeah. Like Julian Edelman, his moments have been all in crucial times, which are the playoffs. But if you look at his totality of his body of work, no.
Well, yeah, I think it should be a combination of the two. So it's a little bit of what Colin is, maybe not the hard line of Colin's, but somewhere in the middle of the two.
Correct. And then Colin, yours is just, it's top 2 or top 5 for 2 contracts. That's tough. Because that is elite.
Well, wait. You don't let some goofball into
I get it. I totally understand.
By the way, so for instance, Greg Jennings is a bodybuilder. He's like a nationally level bodybuilder. They don't let me go to your competition because I'm eating biscuits and gravy and half all day. So if I show up to your weightlifting thing, they'd go, "Hey, who's the lumpy guy with pudding?"
Well, I don't think that Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers are lumpy guy with pudding.
Well, Phillip Rivers is pretty lumpy.
Okay.
My point is the standard Hall of Fames, Greg, are not about the top. They're about the bottom. If you let an average receiver in, it invalidates the Hall of Fame.
I agree. I totally agree. So are you saying that Phillip Rivers is not a Hall of Famer?
That's right. What do you think? You tell me.
I've struggled with this one, to be honest. I've struggled with Phillip Rivers because his numbers say he's Hall of Famer. But when you look at what Joy is talking about,
he has no moments.
The impact of the league, you can tell the entire story without Phillip Rivers. And I think that is where the Terrell Owens and the Randy Mosses and the Joe Montanas and the Steve, they have so many moments, regular season and in the most important time of the year, which is the playoffs and Super Bowls, obviously. I think you got to have a combination of both.
All right.
I don't think Super Bowls have to be criteria. I don't think Super Bowl has to be a criteria.
Totally agree.
But you got to have moments when the lights are the brightest.
Yeah. Do you rise in the biggest moments?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny about Rod Carew's the best hitter I ever saw in baseball. He played, I think, 12 years for the Twins, 7 years for the Angels. He almost batted 400 one year, 325. I was a Mariner fan as a kid. We couldn't get him out. For 20 years, we couldn't get him out. But he never got to a World Series. Mike Trout can't win a playoff game. So it's like, in baseball, there is something about the season is so long that if you post these numbers, but in the NFL, it does feel like, the more I think about it, boy, Eli's a tough one. The stats are not there.
Eli's a tough one because the stats, although the stats aren't there to where it's up with the elites and up with the top, his moments
are great.
Are better than are much better. And you can think of him before you think of some of those guys that are in there because of those moments.
Oh God. Yeah.
So that propels him. Because he had some of his best performances in the brightest of lights, in the hottest of flames.
Yep.
And he came through for his team against the best, literally arguably one of the best teams to ever be assembled and to go through the regular season. I know, Joy, I know the Dolphins, but they worked that New England team that they beat was arguably, they were one of the best teams to ever play in the regular season, obviously. And they beat that team. And so you look at Eli Manning, and he was a huge part and a huge reason why.
Yeah, and it was 2 throws, one to David Tyree, one to Mario Manningham. No, I mean, his moments are better than Marino's. Eli's moments are better than Marino. Marino's the better player. But in terms of moments, God, that win in Green Bay with Plexico Burress. I mean, he had 2 road playoff runs. All right, we got to get out of here. This Hall of Fame stuff gets me all worked up. Greg Jennings, but I can't show up to one of his body sculpting things.
You could.
Well, yeah, and you'd be like...
You wouldn't win. You wouldn't win, but...
I'm living on like Kit Kat bars and, almonds and Guinness. You don't do well. Yes. All right. Greg Jennings, good talking to you, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.